Hello friends, today's topic is why did Muhammad Tughlaq fail miserably as a ruler? So we'll discuss about his various experiments and his expeditions. Friends, as you know that Muhammad Tughlaq was a well-read person. No sultan before him or after him was so much educated as he was. He was well versed in history, theology, mathematics and Persian. But he was very much impatient and in haste. He did not contemplate properly before starting an experiment and left in the middle without going for a final conclusion. So the various experiments failed miserably, and these experiments shaped the vitality of the Sultanate. The final nail in the coffin of the Sultanate was struck by Temurlang in 1398. Temurlang plundered and looted Delhi, killed and maimed the people of Delhi, took away large numbers of cattle, artisans and huge wealth with him to his capital Samarkand. That during the period of Alauddin Khilji, his general Malik Kafur penetrated as deep as Madurai, but he did not annex South India. He just subdued them, looted and plundered their wealth, but then restored their kingdoms. But during the period of Muhammad Tughlaq and even before, during the reign of his father, the policy was reversed and the entire South India was captured and annexed with the Sultanate. And that during those days there was no adequate facility for transportation and communication, and so it was very much difficult to control and administer South India and Deccan from Delhi. This is why Muhammad Tughlaq shifted his capital from Delhi to Devgiri and renamed it Daulatabad. Now it is situated in the state of Maharashtra. Friends, as you know that a road was built between Delhi to Devgiri. Trees were planted on either side of the road. Sarais or halting places were constructed every 2 miles. Sufis, theologians and nobles, landed gentry were exhorted to shift themselves from Delhi to Daulatabad. But since this campaign was carried out in the summer season, most of the people died of exhaustion. Those who reached Devgiri, they were provided residential buildings, but the locals resisted them. Those who permanently started living at Daulatabad felt homesick. Some of them returned, but some of them perished en route. It came out that as South India or Deccan cannot be controlled from Delhi, so it came out that as the South India and Deccan could not be controlled and administered from Delhi, so North India could not be controlled and administered from Devgiri or Daulatabad. The Sultan shelved this project, and in 1333, after a gap of 6 years, he shelved this project. Friends, there is a misunderstanding among historians that the Sultan ordered complete shifting of capital from Delhi to Daulatabad. But this is not true. While Sultan was at Daulatabad, the minting of the currency was still going on at Delhi. And so it is ample proof that Daulatabad remained as a second capital, not as the primary capital. Delhi continued to be the capital of India. The shifting of capital from Delhi to Daulatabad led to untold miseries and difficulties to the people. Loss of wealth. Large number of people perished while going from Delhi to Daulatabad and returning from Daulatabad to Delhi. But its positive outcome was that it led to the commingling of Islamic and Hindu culture in Deccan and South India. This gave rise to a new language called Urdu, where the substructure was provided by Hindavi, base was provided by Hindavi, and the superstructure, vocabulary, was provided by Persian. This language later on proliferated to North India. And now Urdu is the lingua franca of Pakistan. States like Bihar, UP, Union Territory of Delhi, Jammu and Kashmir, Telangana, Jharkhand, they have additional official language as Urdu. The Sultan introduced token currency. The face value of the copper coin was kept at par with silver coin. It is suggested that Sultan introduced token currency because of the paucity of silver metals in those days. But the introduction of token currency was a new thing in India. Although Chinese emperors and Kublai Khan introduced token currencies with flying colors with success, but in India, the administration in Sultanate did not implement properly the use of token currency. So people started counterfeiting token currency. They hoarded silver and gold metals while paying taxes in counterfeiting token currency. This led to the decline of trade and commerce and overall economy of the Sultanate. And so Sultan was forced to withdraw token currency. But he ordered to exchange the genuine token currency with silver currency. This experiment further put a heavy burden upon the Sultanate exchequer. Sultan tried to dismantle the monopoly of nobility and ulema. He ordered that the monopoly of ulema must be dismantled at any cost because they have monopolized religious, judiciary, education and ecclesiastical department. And so he allowed free access to those people who were meritorious, irrespective of their past antecedent. The action of Muhammad Tughlaq infuriated ulemas, mullah, maulvis and orthodox elements in the Sultanate. They were always in the lookout to revolt against or to incite revolt against Sultan. And so when in the second half of his reign a series of revolts took place, the Sultan was forced to amend the rules with regard to ulemas and nobility. He invited Ghiyasuddin, a distant relative of Khalifa, bestowed upon him huge gifts to appease the orthodox elements in the Sultanate. Similarly, he restored the position of ulemas, mullah, maulvis, orthodox elements in the judiciary, education, religious and ecclesiastical departments. Sultan also tried to expand the base of nobility, which was recruited primarily from foreign Muslims. he gave access to native Muslims in the nobility. Even Hindus were recruited in the nobility of Sultanate, and they were given important positions in the government services. The liberality of the Sultan was very much detested by the orthodox elements and particularly ulemas and high nobles of foreign origins. And thus the cohesiveness of the nobility was torn asunder. And so they were always in the lookout to incite revolt against the Sultanate. The Sultan embarked upon agrarian reforms in the Doab. He established an agriculture department called Diwan-e-Kohi to help farmers by giving them takawi loans, seeds and implements. But to the misfortune of the Sultan, the famines broke out in the Doab areas, which continued for 6 to 7 years. Moreover, the land revenue was fixed as half of the produce without the proper measurement of the land, as was done during the period of Alauddin Khalji. So most of the peasants left farming and fled to jungles. The contemporary historians accused the Sultan that he perpetrated heavy punishments upon farmers who had left cultivation. The Sultan recruited 3,70,000 soldiers and paid salary to them. The Sultan recruited 3,70,000 soldiers and paid them salary for 1 year in advance. It is suggested that Sultan wanted to invade Khurasan, a place in Central Asia, to fish in the troubled water. It is said that the Khurasan and the adjoining areas were passing through a precarious situation, and Muhammad Tughlaq wanted to take advantage out of this condition. But after 1 year, when the situation completely changed, he shelved his plan. But in this process, the exchequer of the Sultanate had to pay heavy price for it. Similarly, the expedition against Karajal, a state in the foothill of Himalaya, also proved a disaster. Out of the 10,000 soldiers sent for the expedition, no one could be spared because of the hilly terrain and cold climate. In the second half of his reign, Sultan had to face a series of revolts, one after another. And so he failed to quell revolt in South India and Deccan. Bengal got liberated itself from the Sultanate and he failed to subdue it. Secondly, Harihar and Bukka established Vijayanagar kingdom in 1336 in South India. In 1347, Hasan Gangu, a foreign Muslim, established Bahmani kingdom in Deccan. Similarly, Hamir Dev liberated himself from the Sultanate and established an independent kingdom in Rajputana. He defeated the army of Sultanate in 1336 AD, and so Sultan had to lead the campaign uninterruptedly, and in the process, while he was going to subdue the revolts in Sindh, he died in Thatta in 1351 AD. And so he tumbled throughout his life and tumbled out of it. To conclude, several historians like Elphiston and B.A. Smith called him insane or a mixture of opposites. But this is not true. Most of his experiments were ahead of times. They lacked proper implementation. Moreover, the Sultan was a hot-headed person, and in haste he left most of his experiments in the middle without going to the conclusion. Moreover, he lacked a sense of proportion, and he could not discriminate between a grievous crime and a trivial crime. So much so that even he awarded serious punishment for trivial crime. The nobility, ulama, the regional warlords, the foreign Muslims were always on the lookout to revolt against the Sultanate and to undermine the position of Sultan. But it must be to the credit of the Sultan that he successfully repulsed the attack of Mongols who threatened to capture Delhi, and finally he saved the Sultanate from crumbling. If you like this video, please share and subscribe, and write your comments, give me feedback so that a better video on another topic can be made. Thank you.